something called an LSP to every others in a domain. Means let us think of this is going to be your OSPF domain. Okay, so every router as you configured with OSPF, they're gonna send this LSA to every other. Means what is called flooding. So each device will create an LSA and it's gonna flood to every others. Okay, every others in a domain. Even as A will be forwarded to B, B will be forwarding that same LSA to E as well. Even he would be get that from C as well because they were connected to both B and C. Okay, like that. So what your question is, what going to be there in an LSA? LSA is what is the information about this node and their link, the status of their link. So it means what? Let us think of an analogy, right? I gonna make some group. Okay, so I'll just gonna make some group in your class, and I'll just ask them to discuss yourself. Okay, I'll just give a topic to you for a group. There were four students, let us think of. I given some topic to you and ask them to discuss all of you. Okay, so I'll give you 10 minutes. Okay, you just ask, like you discuss among yourself. Later, I will ask some questions on that topic. Okay, what you gonna do now? So once I give a topic to you, like to a group, so what, like probably he gonna share some information to everyone. Okay, I knew about this. Please know you also. This is what about this topic. Later, he would also give some inputs to that topic. Okay, again he would also give some inputs towards the topic. So everyone will be shared their knowledge since I have given some time to discuss. So that is what here is happening by sharing their LSA. What do you mean by LSA is also same, LSP is also same. I would call them as LSA means link state protocol, link state packet or link state advertisement. So both were same. Okay, so in this stage what will happen, so everybody they will share. So after that if I ask something, so everybody will have a same knowledge, same information because they are shared each other. Here also the same thing. At the phase everybody will create an LSA
Sir,
something. Yes.
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜನ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕಳಿಸಿರಂತೆ ಸರ್, ಅಡ್ಮಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
Okay. Okay, so what is going to do here, they create something called LSA, so an advertisement packet, where in that packet it will be included all the status of the node. So what it means, so what is how many links were there. Okay, what is the bandwidth of that link? In practically, I'm saying, in practically, they want to put what is the bandwidth. Let us say, assume here, five. The cost of this link is 5, and 2 and 3, something like that. They will put all this information about this packet, which we call it as LSA or LSP, link state packet, and this will be shared with neighbor, not neighbor. It is something flooding. Flooding means every node in a domain should reach, should get this update. Similarly, every node will do the same job. Okay, they're gonna send their LSA to everybody. So after they were gathering all this information, I can assume that each of the node will have a common information across the complete domain. So an example what I just gave here, making a group and giving some topic and ask them to discuss. Probably all might discuss the same thing, and at the end, if I when I start asking questions, something all will be new, and whatever the information they might know is same across same, right? Because everybody will share their information across everyone, right? So that is what the process of here is link state. That's why we call them as link state routing. So each devices in an OSPF domain means which are all the routers they were using this OSPF or link state routing protocol. We call them as a domain. Okay, so they're gonna exchange their status about the status of their link with the neighbors. It's some not neighbors, everybody in a domain. It do something. This LSA is going to be flooded in this domain. After they were gathering, so there might be everyone will have a same information, or maybe may not be. Okay, let us assume like even D will also have aware about all this because every packet would also be sent to him, isn't it? Okay, so what the first point here is the information, or I'll simply say that database. So the database is something is what the routing information or the status of the each node should be same. The database should be same all the nodes across all the nodes in the domain, all the nodes in a domain. Okay, that is the first point, and this should be known to everyone. As they were creating an LSA, if something is status of the link of the each node and it's going to be flooded based on the receiving of that LSA. So every node will have a common database across all the node in a domain. So this is the first step. The next step is then we use what is called Distra's algorithm to find the shortest path from a source node to every other node. Since they were having the same information, so I would able to run an algorithm now to find the shortest path from a source node to every other node. Okay, so applying the concept would be the same. You can think of this is what the status of the each link will be sent. There are lots of things. So in just for an instance, what we are thinking of, uh, so link state knowledge. Link state knowledge means, so what are the information that node could send to the everybody in a domain? Let us take here, you can understand could be a bandwidth and what type of interface they might use, and they will send whether they up, they are down, the link interface is up or down. So all this information is going to be sent by a node to every others. Okay, so when I comes to practically when we use this OSPF protocol, so there were 15 different types of LSA. So from one, it will go from 1 to 15 different types of LSAs. They are used for different types of kinds of exchange between the every nodes in a domain. So LSA1 we call them as normal LSA. Normal LSA means it will carries only O routes, OSPF routes, and LSA2 is something we called as network LSA. Okay, LSA3 we call them as uh, router LSA. Something I can show you here in. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uh, you can see here, I just told you LSA types, right? So it's just I just Google it and I just showing you. So OSP of LSA types, the purpose and the functions of every OSP of LSA. So link state advert. What do you mean by LSA? Link state updates, or LSU we call, or LSP we call. Everything is same. Okay. So link state advertisement information contains with LSA packets. We can also saw a common LSA packets found in OSPF network. So here you can see, as I told you, so here only they have put something called 11. So we have up to something 15. Probably from 12 to 15, we would just say them as opaque LSAs. You can see LSA 1 type 1, we call them as router LSA. and LSA2 we call them as network LSA. LSA3 we call them as summary LSA. 4 we say ASBR's summary LSA, external LSA, group membership LSA, non-source stubby area external LSA. Something we have a different types of advertisement by the router. Let us look at what these three were. The common first three that we have like router, network, and summary. So we'll try to understand what they were. Okay. So type 1 we say router LSA. This packet are sent between a router within the same area of origin, and they do not leave the another area. So what I means to saying here, they are same area router. So area, I'll just tell you that what it is. OSP of areas. Think of they are the LSA between exchange between among a routers, and they were belongs to a same area. Okay, that we call them as router LSA. It's a normal LSA. We also call them as. Okay, then we have a network LSA. So this network LSA is generated by a designated router to describe all routers connected to segments to its segment directly. So what do you mean by whenever we use something, we connect this router in a broadcast environment, means the common channel is shared with multiple routers, and all of them are using something called OSPF routing protocol. So among this routers, one has to be elected as what is called designated router. So that designated router will send this LSA packets to every other saying they should directly connect the all routers connected to its segments or segment directly. So informing them the LSA type 2 would be used. Okay, and within the same area of origin. Okay, so let me explain you the type of links when we go with. So this is summary LSA is what is an LSA type where it's going to be sent from one area to another area is what we call as summary LSA. There are so many different types what we just listed out here. So probably as we do with the practically, you will know understand what all these LSAs are. Okay, so this is what I just given a simple example like to understand what is called link state and what is called link state packet, and that is going to be flooded to every other node in a domain. Okay, and these two, what are the protocols I'm discussing? These three protocols are very important from your exam point of view. I think you may get both of these questions. Okay, so after they were we know that, so every nodes know having same common information across every other in a domain. Okay, then we use something called Dijkstra's algorithm to find the shortest path from a source node to every other node in a graph. Okay, so we not say graph, we say, we here in terms we say that as domains. Okay, so this algorithm will start at here. Okay, so the process of this is quite different than what we discussed, but you can use the same algorithm what you might know, or so you can also use another method. I will tell you that later. So here how the procedure they are defined here from this author is, so they will define there were two lists. One is called permanent list, and there is something called tentative list. Okay, so first we'll update a tentative list with the source node. Okay, from where which node I'm start to find all this shortest path to every other node. I'll set a root node to a local node, and I move that to a tentative list. So first I will move, let us say A will be moved to tentative list, and then we later check whether the tentative list is empty. If that is empty, then I'll stop, or else I'll gonna check the immediate neighbors to this tentative list node from A, and I'm gonna include them to tentative list, and I'll take this node to a permanent list which has been processed. Process is something what refers to as relaxation. You know that relaxation, right? So when we discussed this OS like this task uh, programming, we know understood where there were two nodes, let us say u, v, and u. Okay, where v is having an infinity as a cost, and u will be having something like the distance of u, the cost of u, or what we say, distance of v is greater than the distance of u plus the cost between these two, u comma u, cost between u comma v. So if that's so, if this, then you update the distance, the cost of v as the cost of u plus the cost of u plus the cost between u and v. So this is what called relaxation, right? So we have to relax them. Okay. So what we'll do, this is here we call them as process. As a node process, it will move to where? To the permanent list, and we include all its immediate neighbors to the tentative list. Among those tentative list, which will having a least cost, we're gonna process, we're gonna relax them, and we move that node to where? To the permanent list next, like that. Okay, let us take this example what we have taken here. So let us assume this what uh, let us applying this distance vector distress algorithm. Like I have a permanent list and I have a tentative list, and my source is what? A. Okay, first I will include a source node to an tentative list in the first iteration. The next, I will replace this. I will include this node to permanent list because that is the only node I have. Since your source node is always be a one node, and I'm going to update the nodes which are neighbor to the node A. So into the tentative list, which are all the nodes are here, which are neighbors to this node A, which is node B, C, and D. Okay, there were 3 nodes in a tentative list. Then I have to take one node for the processing. So out of these 3 nodes, I have to visit one node for processing. So which node I should visit? The which node as a least cost. You can see C will be having 2, D will be having 3, B will be having 5. So I have to take C node into the permanent list, and that is what the visiting node now, and I have to process them. So your permanent list will be having now A, A and C, and your tentative list will be having B and D because C has been removed, and I have to next include which are all the nodes who are immediately the neighbors to C, because that is what the visited node now. So then I have to add the neighbors of C, which is B and E. B already present in tentative list. So I have to include one more, which is unknown node, which is called E into a tentative list. So out of 3, this, which will be having a least cost. So you can see here we have 3, 5 here something, which is 2 plus 4 is 6. So I have to include which one? D I have to take to an permanent list. Okay, I will move this node A, C, D now. Okay, A, C, D, and we have here B comma E, B only. Okay, so then only this, there will be no neighbors to D. Okay, then which among this is list? B will be having list, and I will move this to the permanent list, and B will having all these neighbors are already been processed. So and the remaining will be E only, A, C, D, B, and we have only a E node at the tentative list. If it comes to this node, if I process this node, even what this node has a neighbors like B and C, so it will also be included, so that I will gonna remove, like later I gonna push this E node to an permanent list, and your it becomes A, C, D, B, E. Okay, and your tentative list becomes 0. So this is what the process of like writing an routing table for the any of the node given in a graph. So that is what they explained here. You can see as they said root node as 0, and this is what the writing of the spanning tree, minimum spanning tree for the given graph. So if I ask you to write the minimum spanning tree, you should write them like this. You can see the root node is be set to 0, that is A, and the immediate neighbors were D, C, B, like B, C, D, having the cost of 5, 2, 3, and the next immediate neighbor processing is what? C, because as having the least cost among these 3. Then we will want to process D, then we're going to process B, then we're going to process D, and this is what the final minimum spanning tree of the given topology or given graph. Okay, so the another easy, this is how we write this routing table, like from for a node A, if that is a source node, the cost is going to be 0, and for every other nodes like 5, 2, 3, 6, and the source for E is C, because when we process it, the C, when we node processing the C node, so that we gonna add what is called E, because that is the neighbor to it, immediate neighbor. So that you have to add the next router as next op as C. And if you check this routing table with the other one with the distance vector, both were same. Okay, So you can ask a question, why we not using a Bellman Ford here, why we use a Distras. So so why we use a distras here is for the time complexity. So means if you given graph, what is the time that will be taken for a processing to complete is what it will be I in a distance vector. What Bellman Ford if you use, it's the order of n cubes, where the time complexity is here is in order of n square. So that is the one reason, because we use distance vector over here and Bellman Ford over there. And another reason is here distance vector Bellman Ford is not going, like it's going to work in even in the negative edge, but where a distras will not going to work on the negative edges. And the metric is completely different. Here we use something called bandwidth as a metric to find the shortest path, the best path, or and where in a distance vector we use the distance between a source node to destination node, which is called band, which is op counts. Okay, so the another way how I can write this, you simply write a table. I'll just tell you in easier way how you can construct a table for any of this node in a graph. So you just write a table. Okay, just a second. Just write a table. Okay, so you first you write the source node, and you write all these nodes except the source node. Like you can remove the source node. You can write except the other nodes source node, which is B, C, D, and E. Okay, so and update the cost of each node from the source node if they are connected. Like B will be having 5 and C will be having 3, sorry 2, and D will be having 3 and E will be having infinity because it is not connected to source. So then out of this, okay, so you can also update the neighbor, like whether they were directly connected or is there any like this in the tuple, or else you can simply write them right 5, 2, 3 like that. Out of this, which will be having least one cost is 2. You can use this and you're gonna process them. A, C. You're gonna processing now which node? 2 node, and like you check that node. Is there any neighbor? Okay, which will be there to see, and which you can update relaxing. You can see he will be connected with C, and here initially it has infinity. If you check the cost now, it is 2 plus 4, it is something 6. So you can update that cost by processing node called E. So then what will happen? It becomes 5. So the node C has been processed now, and your D will be having 3, and he will be updated to 6, and that is via C. Okay, it's a tuple. Out of this, next it will be D. There will be no changes, there will be no relaxation. You can write it as it is. Okay, 5, 2, 3, then 6. Okay, then the next one you want to process this. Okay, C, D, then B. So it will be same as it is. There will be no relaxation next. 3, and you will be having 6. Then you're going to process this 6, and the further it finally it becomes 5, 2, 3, 6. This is your that routing table cost for every other node from a source node, which is A, C, D, B, and E. Okay, so what is A cost is 0, for C cost it is 2, for B cost from A is 5, from A to D cost is 3, and from A to E cost is going to be 6, and that is via C. So this is how the table you can write, and you can construct a routing table for any given source node in the graph. Okay. Okay, this is all about your OSPF link state. Okay, so the practically implemented protocol is OSPF. We call them as open shortest path first, and the metric we use to find the best path in an OSPF is, okay, so which is equals to the bandwidth. Okay, let us think of, there is a node, and there is another node, there is another node. In between, you have another node here and another node here, and there is something, a destination network. This is your network. Okay, and this is your source node, source network. This is your source, and this is your destination. Okay, if you use all of this router with an OSPF, okay, according to your RIP, either this or this is going to be a best route, because both will have the op counts of what? 2, 2, or you can simply say 1, because this is only one hop, right? One hop, and this network is directly connected. So it has the up count as 1, 1. Probably it may do something load balancing. Okay. So it can go to traffic here as well, here as well. Okay. This will not going to be considered as a best path because it has highest up count. Okay. Because here 1, 2. Here it is only 1. It's going to choose either this or this as a best path. But whenever it comes to this OSPF, if this bandwidth, like this link has a bandwidth of 100 Mbps, again here also 100 Mbps, here it is something 1 GB. Okay, so both all the links will be having 1 GB. Here both the links having 100 Mbps, both the links having 100 Mbps. According to your OSPF, it will choose this path as a best path to send the data, because the metric what it will use to find the best path is the bandwidth, which link has the highest bandwidth, like that link will be chosen as a best path. Okay, so there is a concept of something called OSP of areas. Okay, and we gonna do these areas based on a number of hosts, or based on a network, or based on a router. Okay, so why do we need to do these areas? So one thing we just stated that when we discussing that link state protocol, the information, the database across each node should be same. Okay, so in a domain, whenever you will be in an autonomous system, whatever you might be using an OSPF, all the routers will not have the same resources. Means there might be some lower end routers, and some routers might be an higher end routers, where when you have an higher end routers, there will be no like problems, because it will have a sufficient of resources like memory and processing unit, everything. But when it comes to lower end devices, lower end routers, okay, a very basic router, it may not able to store a complete database about the domain, because let us think of, there were 200 networks in a domain. So each router in a network in an OSPF domain should maintain 200 routes in their routing table. Okay, so probably this 200 routes may difficult to process and for forwarding by these lower end devices. Okay, sometimes ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮ್ದು mobiles, if they are not having sufficient of space and resources, whenever you use some applications, what will happen? It automatically get hanged up. So that is the reason. So where one thing we said, the database information, the information across all the router in this domain should be same. Okay, there might, like, if every routers will have the same capability, then no issues. You need not to uh, go for areas. Means multiple areas, you can completely configure them as one area. Okay, whenever there is something, there might be seeing your routers have something very lower end. In that time, you have to decide how many group of routers, or how many networks, or how many hosts I should group, and I should call them as an OSPF area. What is an area here is OSPF area. We're gonna group based on number of hosts, or based on a number of network, or based on the number of routers, and we just call them as area. So once we made them as an area, now the routers inside this area should not maintain the information about the whole domain or autonomous system. Instead, they're going to maintain their local information, means within their area's information. Means that what? If you think of in our college, like we used to have a different departments, right? If there is no such kind of an organization, like of department, different department, different specialization, think of, I would be having only one department where handling every specialization courses. Is that possible? Okay, it's something what giving a burden who belongs to that one department. Okay, it's quite handling and making the records and histories of each students, academic histories, and it's something is quite difficult. It's not easily possible, right? So how this was organized, something we made them to a department where the staff in that department, they are responsible for handling those, the students who belongs to their course. Okay, not even that, whoever will handling the sub course to their specific semester, only they should keep their records of their students, those students. So here the same thing. So we were doing something called areas. We are grouping some networks or some routers or some hosts, and we call them as one area. Okay, so you can configure any number of areas. You can configure 1,000, 10,000, depends on the network size. Okay, so based on what you should also aware about their hardware, like the routers, what you might included in that area. So the Cisco, what they will suggest that, so in one area you should not go beyond, 200 routers. They will define. So whatever the basic routers they provide, so probably that could be even sufficient to run an OSPF with with the neighbors, the network of 200 routers. If you go beyond something, you should consider the other routers to be in a different area. They are suggesting that too. You can have like this 200 routers to be in one. You can consider them to in one area. Okay, if you go beyond, even if that network is more than 200 something, you're supposed to form in another network. Okay, when you forming like config, like designing this network, okay, this is what the designing part. Okay, this is, you think of an autonomous network, one autonomous system network. How many areas I should consider? That is what I just told you. That's up to you. You can make them any number of area, but one thing you should keep in mind, for every area, let us say you will be made something 10 areas. Out of this 10 area, one area should be transit area to every other 9 areas. Okay, that is the one point. There should be one common area to every other areas what you may do. So that area we always used as area 0. So we call them as backbone area. So this area is going to be what? They're going to connect every other area. So what might you design? Okay, they should directly connect it to which area, which is called area 0. We call them as backbone area. Okay, and every other area, let us say if you configure this as an area 0, so then every other area 1, area 2, area 3 should be connected to where? To that backbone area, which is called area 0. This is area 0, this is area 1, area 2, area 3, area 4. Okay, so the router which they were connecting, their area 0 and area 1, we call this router as ABR. Okay, area border router. You can see here, this routers is what we call them as area border router. Why we call this router is going to maintain the routes of this area and this area. Okay, that's why we call them as area border router. Similarly, there will be an area border router for every other routers, like areas which they are connected to which one? And backbone area. Okay, how many area border router here will be having? There were 4 area, because and all of these are connected to a common area, which is area border router, which is area 0. So in this, all this we call them as area border router. Okay, so and one thing, in area 0, probably it might have one area router which they connected to an external network, or even somewhere in the area 1 itself it may connect to an external network. Anywhere it may connect. Okay, in any area it may connect it to an external network, or by default, when if you have this kind of a configuration in your organization, probably from a router from an area 0, it connected to an ISP. Okay, so the router which is participating with an OSPF as well as some external routes other than an OSPF routing information, we call this router as ASBR. Okay, ASBR is something autonomous system border router or boundary router. You can see here this router which is connecting to other autonomous system, or simply because other autonomous system here ISP itself and another autonomous system, right? So that router we call them as ASBR. Okay, ASBR is autonomous system border router. Okay, so whenever any area wants to communicate with like any other network in an OSPF, it should send that in request to an area border router, and area border router via this backbone area, it will gonna send that to another area border router where that network connected in that area, and that specifically send that to, then that area border router will gonna send specifically that to that specific network. So this is what the concept of an OSPF. So we have something called areas. Area is going to be divided based on could be number of hosts, number of network, number of routers. Okay, but the rules what when you're designing configuring of this area OSPF areas, you can make any number of areas, but all these areas should connect it to one common area. We call them as backbone area, which is area 0, and there were routers which were participating in more than one area. We call them as area border router, and the router which is participating with OSPF domain and the external routes, which we call them as ESBR, autonomous system border router. Okay, so probably I think if I explain anything in this theory, it will not understand. Probably if time gives, I'll just show you how this routing protocol OSPF will be used, and there were such other different concepts. Okay, so this is not so simple routing protocol because this could be used for very large network. So what we saw the disadvantage in RIP, that could only use for a small network. So where OSPF is open standard on every routers, like every devices vendors, you can run this protocol. Okay, and it's gonna support unlimited op counts. There will be no limits of like what we have in an RIP. This could be used in very large network. Okay, and the metric which is use a bandwidth, and there is a concept of areas and area like inter area, like single area or multiple area, that depends on the network size. Okay, so there are some types of links here. We call them as point-to-point, transit, stub, and virtual. So let me tell you, you know that point-to-point link, it should always be there in the like in whenever you're using this OSPF, a router which is connected to an immediate router, and the type of link they were used, bidirectional and full duplex. Okay, so this type of link we just say them as point-to-point. There is a scenario I just told you that in a broadcast environment, when a routers will be sharing within common channel. So in this scenario, so if they are sending their updates LSA to every others, probably it's going to send how many? You can think of 5 into for every 4. So which is going to be 20 LSA, right? So in order to avoid this LSA, and this LSA is going to be periodically sent. Okay, that makes something in network uh, very like you can see them like this. Okay, they are means every router they should send every other flooding 4. Again this will send to 4, right? 5 into 4, it's 20 packets of LSA, which typically you can realize them as like this. So it's something an unrealistic representation. How are we going to do this if they are in this type of connection? If they are connected in this form in a broadcast environment, we do something called election among all these routers. Means out of this 5 routers, we're going to select one router as a DR router. So which is called as designated router. Means and every other routers, they are connected in the form of point to point. Okay, you can see out of this 5, so one router will be elected as a designated router, and from that designated router, every other routers are just direct neighbors to that designated routers. Okay, so this will be happen logically, not physically. You can think of, okay, logically it happened. Out of this, like your D going to be selected as B is going to be selected as a designated router, and they will form them like a logical star, means to point link from the designated to every other node. So if this designated, then every other routers are non-designated routers. Okay, so this process we call them as DRBR, BDR election, designated and backup designated router election. So they're going to exchange their router ID, and which will have an highest router ID, that will be elected as what is called designated router. And similarly, the next router ID will also be elected as backup designated router. If this designated router fails, we have something called backup designated router to like cope up with that process. Okay, there is something called stub link. Stub link is where a host, a router which is connected to an Ethernet LAN. Okay, that is a part of, you can think of so what we saw in the last one in the transit link. So a router which is connected to another router, where this router will have only a path if they want to send a packet and if they want to receive a packet is the same. There will be no transit of this router to if any other router. Means what? This router is the only one router. From here, it's not going to link to any other. Something what I can say, in your classroom, your CR will be going to like interact with the faculty and also interact with others, something, any other things if would happen, and they want to tell that to everything to you, right? You're all like a stub, means everything what you want to send or receive, you should tell them via CR only. Okay, and the CR will be something, a designated or a transit router. He will gonna convey that message to whom that it should be conveyed, something like that. So you're all something what here as called stubbling or stub routers. You're stub like. So that is what the meaning of stub. Okay, and this is how we're gonna represent the graphically. This is a network, and we just write them in graphs. Okay, so this is all about OSPF. Uh, there are something we do different kind of configuration whenever we have an backup, like a backbone network, and there will be an area one, and where some area we would also configure, okay, and which this area will not directly connected to the backbone area. So in that scenario, what we'll do, we configure this area, the intermediate area between area 0 and area, let us say 2, and this is area 1. I just configure this area as virtual area. So if you configure them as virtual area, so this area 2 will seems like connected to a backbone area. Okay, so this now it's not a stubby area now. It's not stub area because it is something, even it will be carrying the packets of from area 2. So even this would also not stub area or a stub link. When we say stub area, which is only connected, like a area which is only connected on area 0, and it should only send and it should only receive. It will not going to send to any other area, where with this area I can call them as stub area. Okay, like that you can understand. Okay, so when this will comes to the configuration part, how we configure and how many areas I should take, and when I'm taking that areas, you should ensure where all this area should connect to area 0, like that. Okay, so the next point is what here we were discussing, inter-routing protocols, inter-AS routing protocols or inter-domain. So we use here is BGP. This is the only one protocol, where other two protocols what we discuss, RIP and OSPF, are intra-AS. Intra-AS means within the autonomous system, so which cannot be used to update the routing information from one autonomous system to another autonomous system. So one such routing protocol what we use today, and this is what is the only one single protocol which has been used and which makes to run the complete over internet, which is called border gateway routing protocol. So this routing protocol is like inter-AS routing protocol. Okay, so that will helps to exchange the route from this autonomous system to another autonomous system. Okay, so it has some features. Okay, it is a loop-free protocol. Loop-free. What do you mean by loop-free? Let me explain. Let us say whenever this is something an hybrid of both the distance vector and the link state. Okay, so it will be an hybrid protocol. It's something an hybrid of distance vector and the link state. It will, we call this protocol as path vector. So path vector means the metric would be different than the distance vector. It works similarly to a distance vector only. It is also having a three stages: initialize state, sharing, and update. The same way how we understood the distance vector. Instead of sharing their cost, here they have some different metrics which gonna share and updates their vector tables. Okay, instead of sharing their cost, something it will gonna share what is called AS path. Okay, what do you mean by AS path? Okay, it gonna share its autonomous system number. Okay, you can see, let us say there will be 5 autonomous system. You should assume like AS1, AS2, AS3, AS4, like we have 4 autonomous system. Okay, Out of this autonomous system, one node will be elected as what is called BGP speaker. What do you call BGP speaker? They are the node which is connecting to the other autonomous system number, other autonomous system. Okay, you can say this would be autonomous 1, 2, 3, and 4. And A1, C1, B1, D1 are the BGP peers. Peers, what? The speaker node. They are the one they are exchanging this vector table to the neighbors. They will aggregate, they will collect all this information which is there inside their network. Let us say you can in this example, okay, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, all these are the network inside the autonomous system, and they'll put the like the path as its own autonomous number, AS1, 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 and then it will going to be shared to the BGP peers of the different autonomous system. It will be shared them to here C as well as B. Okay, as they're shared, then this router will gonna update, is there any network like A1, A2, A3, I should send them to whom? To an autonomous system as AS1. Instead of the destination, you can see this is what the stabilized table of these three autonomous system. As they shared, you can see from A1 to A5, what is the AS path? To who is the autonomous system? Is AS1, and from B1 to B4, from the autonomous system number AS1, how I should send? From there to AS2 I should send. It will keep the complete autonomous system path number. Means AS1, AS2, complete autonomous system path. Okay, that's why we call as AS path. Okay, so AS1 to AS3, AS1, AS2, AS4. You can see from this network to reach D, how they should send? They should send from AS1 to AS3 and ASD, or else otherwise you can send them AS1 to AS2, AS3, and AS4. So there will be 4 ops, right? Like from it should send to AS2, AS2 to AS3, AS3 to AS4. Instead, if from AS1 it can send to AS2, and AS3 will directly send to AS4, like that. The same way how we discussed, but instead the metrics used in this BGP is not a single metric. What we discussed, it's used so much different matrices. So I can say call them as which is 2 parts. The metrics I can divide them into 2 parts. We call them as well-known metrics, and something well-known metrics are mandatory metrics, and something called discretionary metrics. Discretionary metrics. There were 2 matrices in BGP when they were finding the best path. One is well-known metrics and the discretionary metrics. Well-known metrics are the metrics, and those metrics were mandatory. So the mandatory, whenever any routers they were running with BGP. So that the metrics are AS path is the one, the path autonomous system path information. The next one is origin. Origin means which network that network will be origin in, any network, and what is the origin of that network is something their autonomous system. Okay, and something called next stop. Who is my next autonomous system number to send this package to the destination? Okay, let us take this one an example. So what we saw here in the each path here, A4 to A3 to A1. So this path information is what here we call them as AS path. This is a one metric is mandatory in BGP. It should send the AS path information to every neighbors. Okay. Then the origin. Origin, if you see A1 to A5 network is the origin where these networks were present is in the present in AS1. So that is the origin. You can see this is the origin. This AS path itself can tells what is the origin. This last one will be the origin of this network A1, A2 or to A5. And the next stop. So the origin, which is the next stop I should send to reach any other network, which is from A3, like that. Okay, that is what the information. This is from whom? This is from the autonomous system table of D. AS4 information. Like from AS4, you can see from here to reach A, the table is what? from AS4 to AS3, from AS3 to AS1. So this path information itself gives these three information. One is AS path of the autonomous system, and the origin and the next stop. So there is another metric which we use as a discretionary. In discretionary, again, we're going to characterize them as two matrices. One is what is called uh, transitive or non-transitive mandate. What do you call, well, metrics. In discretionary, we have two types: transitive metric and non-transitive metrics. Something we have set of other metrics used for finding out the best path. We call them as loco preference. Loco preference is one, and we have something called weights. Okay, and we have something called route reflector. Okay, route reflector. We call them as discretionary metrics. Okay, so and these were not mandatory. It's something or optional. This will not be advertised by any router if they are not like using these matrices. Both of the matrices, like routers, they should aware about these matrices. Then only I could use these matrices in this BGP session. Okay, so in BGP there were two different sessions, we call them as, so which is IBGP, EBGP. So IBGP, EBGP means external BGP session and internal BGP session. So this BGP basically relies on IGP protocol. So what the inter routing protocol we use. Okay, if that create a session within the autonomous system, we call them as IBGP session. If there happens between two different autonomous system, we call them as EBGP, which is external BGP session. So whenever any like autonomous system, they are sharing their routing info vector table with the other autonomous system, they will use a TCP session between them with some particular port number, and then it will exchange its routing table with the neighbor, which is something point to point. Okay, point to point, and it use a TCP session, which it's create a connection between this BGP peer to this BGP peer, and it completely share its vector table to its neighbor. Okay, so how they're gonna connect, send them to the table means it's not gonna flood, or it's not going to simply send to a neighbor with an UDP based. It's something, it creates a connection between A1 to B1, and it will share its complete tables with the neighbor. Okay, it's use a particular port number. I didn't remember what is the port number it used, but if that port number, this protocol should be listened to receive the BGP updates from the neighbor autonomous system BGP peer. Okay, so it is something similar to a distance vector. It's use the initialization, something the same procedure. This processing, like initializing their vector table is what the initialization table. Sharing that with the neighbors is sharing and updating. Which are all the information is not there, it will update. So this is what the routing tables of each the different autonomous system, like autonomous system 1, 2, 3, 4 for different uh, autonomous system networks, like A1 to A5, B1 to B4, C1 to C3, D1 to D4, and they are the path information, AS path information. So based on this AS path information, the packet will be going to send. Okay, so this BGP will have some features inbuilt. Something it supports something called loop free. Loop free means whenever it's sharing this information with C as well as D, and okay, again C will gonna flood that to B as well as D, right? But B would already aware about AS path 1, AS1, because it's been sent by him only, by the AS autonomous system 1 only, and the same information again has been sent by C as well. So here it creates a loop. Whenever any BGP receives an autonomous system path, and if that been already present in the routing table, it will simply enable. Okay, that's what we call them as loop free. And it will also provide some policy based routing. Policy based routing is something, so you can which are all the network information they could take, and which are all the network information they could deny it. Okay, so that is what the policies we defined. So which are all the information they should take, and which are all they should be like denying of updating the routing table. And also you can do something called so when the type of connection what we do from our SJC network to the ISP, so there were different types of WAN connection we use. So we call them as single home, because this is, let us assume this is going to be one autonomous system. We do something called single homing, single home, multi home, okay, or dual home. We call them as dual homing, multi homing. Okay, dual homing, single homing means connecting our network to one single service provider, so only one ISP. We call them as single homing. So connecting in one ISP with two links. Okay, one will be primary, another will be redundant. If this link fails, I will be having another links to connect to route my traffic. So this we call them as dual homing, something single dual homing. We have dual connection to the same ISP. Multi homing is something what one, like our SJC network is going to connect to a different ISPs. Okay, ISP one and ISP two. Okay, ISP two. So in this type of way connection, if you have, so we can decide like which network they should go via ISP one and which network they should go via ISP two. So this policy we will be defined. We could able to define with the help of BGP. So we define like CS subnet should go with ISP1, and our EC department traffic should go with ISP2. So this we call them as multi-homing. Okay. So because we need something redundancy, if I would not able to get the traffic like connection from ISP1, I can completely shift my traffic over an ISP2. So when this restored, when I resume with my connection, I can go with my there is like the same procedure, the way I can forward my which the traffic which I am following forwarding through that ISP1. Okay, so this is what we call as policy-based routing and loop-free protocol in BGP. Okay, so this is all about your BGP protocol. Okay, if you have any doubts, please you can ask. So this is completes your fourth module. Okay, in Monday I think you might be having internals. So